Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Collective Clicks podcast. This is your host, Brandon Bateman, and today I'm joined by David Olds. David and his team at Easy REI Closings have helped investors close tons and tons of deals across the country, and they've been doing it for years now. He has a great perspective on what's happening in the industry and what the constraints are in the real estate investing business. I hope you'll enjoy the episode. I'll see you there. David, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me back. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to have you here. It's been I don't even know how long since the last one. So if
Probably a
anybody
couple of
listening to this,
years. I don't know how I
yeah, if
made the
anybody
cut and
listening,
made the rotation, but I love it. I appreciate it.
yeah, well, if you remember David from a couple of years ago, then pat yourself on the back for having an
Yeah,
incredible memory because there's
you
no
get you get an
there's no
award.
chance I would. I could barely remember, and I was the podcast host. It's been so
That's
long.
right.
So I'm grateful to have you back here. So for those
Yeah,
that are
man.
listening that don't know who you are, what's your background?
Yeah, I mean, very briefly, I'm a really long-term investor. I actually started this back in 2002. So back when dinosaurs roamed the earth before the internet, literally, or almost before the internet. But yeah, very quickly, I started investing while I had a full-time job when I lived in Orlando. And that was great. I had a great job. My wife
Mhm.
had a good job. We were doing some fix and flips on the side. It was a little part-time hustle. It was great. We were making a lot of money. And then, everything was good until it wasn't. And the market crashed in 2009. My wife lost her job. Eventually, I ended up losing mine. I was a salesman for 84 Lumber, and we had to figure something out. So we relocated to Chattanooga, Tennessee, which was really an emerging market. Just meant that a lot of growth was going on at the time here. And we came here. We knew nobody. I tell people we were half of broke. We didn't have enough money to be considered broke. And, out of literal necessity, we started wholesaling. And wholesaling back then was bandit signs, driving for dollars, and some postcards. Like that was as good as it got, right? Because I don't even think Google existed back then, right? Didn't Google come around maybe 2009? Maybe it was just starting. So there was no
Yeah.
really online advertising. I wish I'd have been in it back then. But yeah, we had to bootstrap. I tell people I had a wife, two boys, and three fat dogs, and the money had to come from somewhere. So we were very motivated. It was kind of a burn the boat situation where we're going to do this, or I have to go back and find a full time job. So yeah, so we started wholesaling. We did almost 40 deals our first year, which was pretty good. We were the only full time big wholesaler in town, so we were bringing something new to a market where people didn't really understand. They're like, "Son, what's an assignment of contract? I don't understand." So yeah, we did that for a couple of years, and just as things progressed, we started buying some rental properties. We did a lot with owner financing, like straight up. We did some sub twos, but a lot of buying properties that were owned free and clear, where the seller we could negotiate a deal with the seller. Then as the market turned, we got back into rehabbing and did that for a little bit. And I brought in some partners over time, and then we decided to get more into wholesaling. And when I had four partners or four of us all together, we just the short version is we had to start going to other markets and figuring out virtual wholesaling before that was a thing, and
Mhm.
definitely invented ways to lose money. Figured out how to do all of the things wrong. We went to bad places like Birmingham and St. Louis and just blew money on marketing like there was no tomorrow. But we were just I tell people I was always just too dumb to quit, and we would just always figured a way through it until we turned over to PPC, and we were in over 100 markets nationwide, and then we realized that was just too many. Like some of those markets were not the place to be. And eventually we weaned it down to about 28 markets. And that was Nationwide Property Liquidators. We were doing a lot of deals every single month. We were one of the bigger wholesaling companies in the country at the time. And that was great. And then COVID happened, and we realized that there was, through a lot of different things happened, but we realized that there was nobody that really helped people and investors get their deals closed, right? Really, nobody was even helping teach dispositions at the time. And that was the one thing I was coaching, which probably led into this. But yeah, that was sort of how and when Easy REI Closings was built. And in the last 4.5, 5 years, we've become the largest transactions company in the country, just helping investors and wholesalers close the gap between the time the contract signed and the actual closing, and take all of that work off their plate so that they can focus on, going out and getting more deals, like Tom Kroll says, right? Being very, focused on the revenue part of the business, which is leads, contracts, sellers, and buyers, right? That's the thing that every investor really should be focused on. So that's the very
Yeah.
shortest version.
Yeah, one thing that I feel like I've learned from you, yeah, like you just mentioned something that I think matches like the mindset of a lot of people,
Mhm.
which is, well, get this stuff taken care of so you can go focus on the
Yeah.
revenue part of the business, generating leads, contracts, deals, etc. Which very normal mindset. But when you really think about it, TC, in my opinion, is a little bit more of a revenue center in the business than you would think, because the amount of revenue that
Mhm.
gets lost
Yes.
in TC is significant,
Yeah.
which is crazy, right? Because you can think about it two ways. You could think like, oh, this
Mhm.
just has to get done, period. Or you could think about it like, oh, well, we're losing money if this doesn't get done right. And if you like, imagine everybody in real estate wholesaling had a P&L, and on that P&L, there was a line item. Well, that's
Mhm.
the first joke, is like imagine everybody has a P&L. The second one
Okay.
is,
I didn't for a long time. So trust me, I'm that person. So if
oh,
you're
I also
listening to this and
didn't.
you're like, oh my God, they're talking about me. I'm like, no, no, no. I was that guy too.
No, I absolutely was too. Like it's funny because I just saw a post from a mutual connection of ours on Facebook the other day. Like, if you don't have a P&L, you have no business hiring people. And
Mhm.
I was like, well,
Mhm.
do I agree?
Yeah.
Yes.
But
And did I do that in that order? No, I
yeah.
did not do that in that
No.
order.
Listen, we're all, and this is such a common theme. And we know a lot of the same
Yeah.
people, but most people that are really successful started with nothing. I'm
Mhm.
lucky. I came from a little bit of a corporate background, so I should have been better at this. But we start out in hustle mode. Like we've got to figure out a way to make this work.
Mhm.
And the thing I tell people is, I feel like my first 2 or 3 years of being in business, I went to the top of a hill in one of those old metal, Red Rider wagons or whatever with the handle, and I've just arms and legs going down the hill like, "Woo-wee, we're wholesaling deals, we're selling deals, we're buying deals, we're getting rentals, we're doing all the things." And you get to the bottom, you're like, "Holy smokes. Like now I have a real business." And I cannot keep bringing Ziploc bags of tax, receipts to my tax person. Like this doesn't make any sense. So yeah, for most people, it hits them late. Like I'm still not good at that stuff, right? I'm not. I'm really good at the things I'm good at, but I'm not good at everything. And probably at the end of the day, personally, not even the greatest transaction coordinator. Like I can figure stuff out like nobody's business, but I'm not organized. And you're probably way more of an
Mhm.
organized person than me. But I realized that was something in my business that I needed because you're right. A lot of revenue does pass through transactions, right? Um, but that's not the thing. I'm an old school, I tell people, knuckle dragging wholesaler, like caveman. Like
Mhm.
I just want to go out and do deals. But I realized the things that I'm good at and the things that I'm not. And I had to bring in somebody to handle that for me. And once I realized how much of an effect it had in my business, like literally, my business went up and to the right because I wasn't over here with my head down trying to Google what a monument of title is, right? I was able to focus on my deals and let Heather come in and her team that she built run that side of the business. And all of a sudden, now transactions were closing. So, yeah, it's very, very important, just like running your PPC. I would not recommend to anybody that they try to figure out Google AdWords. I think I've told you this
Mhm.
story before. I sat down next to Corey Geary and he's like, I'll teach you how to do PPC. I'm like, fantastic, because we've burned out on SMS. And I'm like, I'll come teach your team how to dispo. We're going to do a little trade. And 5 minutes into that conversation, us sitting next to each other, and he's got Google AdWords open and he's showing me keyword, I don't even know, right? Your whatever keyword, whatever the things you put in there, right? And I'm like, there was zero effing chance that I was going back to from Phoenix to Chattanooga to implement any of that. And I knew that I had to hire somebody to get this done for me, right? Same thing with transactions, right? You can maybe muddle through it and you'll be successful 50% of the time. But what's the deal that doesn't close that you didn't know, or that, in my case, some attorney that I nicknamed Dr. No, because they always told me no, this couldn't be done. How many of those deals did I crumple up and throw away
Mhm.
because I didn't understand the process, right? So I agree. It is incredibly important. It's one of the most important
Yeah.
in our wholesaling business. Still, it's one of the very most important things, but I don't want to be doing it. It's terrible.
Oh.
I own the biggest transactions company and I lean out my door and I'm like, hey, Jerry Norton sent me this deal today. I need to make sure that we get this thing sold and closed. Great. That's what we do.
Yeah, that's funny. Where I was going with that before, I got incredibly distracted.
All
Maybe
right,
with
that's on
P&Ls.
me. I'm terrible
No,
at this. Like, I'm like, where do we start?
it was I started the tangent, but you really brought it home. So, together, we, we
Yeah,
really pulled
squirrel
that out.
brains, right?
Exactly. Well, what I was doing, like, imagine you had a P&L and the revenue wasn't your actual revenue. It was the revenue you should have had if you did everything
Ooh,
right. And on the
I've done that.
expenses, you had your own section for transaction coordination.
Mhm.
And there you have, like everybody else does in their P&L, like, oh, this is the money I paid for TC, usually
Yeah.
money I paid to an in-house person or whatever my time was allocated to
Yeah.
that, whatever the case is.
Sure.
But right next to that, you also had the money I lost because transaction coordination didn't go as well as it should have
Yeah.
in terms of deals falling through, in terms of like
Yeah.
deals I turned away because I thought I wouldn't be able to legally do that.
Oh,
Whatever,
yeah.
whatever all those things fit in there. I think TC would actually be a massive focus in this business if people could pull that up in their P&L and
Yeah.
see it. But the problem is just the way that we do financial reporting in businesses. Lost
Mhm.
revenue is it's not a line item on the P&L, right? So we don't see how
No,
much money we're losing there.
right. And part of that is our mindset. We take a baseball bat to the gut and we're like, no problem. We'll overcome and we're going to get back up and we're just going to go
Mhm.
get the next deal. So we do get used to some of that stuff, right? Um, but yeah, I've done that exercise in a couple different aspects of my business. Um, deals that we couldn't get under contract, how much money was that when it got resold by somebody else, or
Mhm. Oh
rentals where
yeah.
we didn't collect revenue. I've never done it specifically for TC, but it's a big number. And the shocking statistic that nobody ever believes me when I say this is 50% of the deals in the United States do not close. That's not me. I didn't make that statistic up. That's First American Title Insurance Company, the largest data collector in the country. Largest. But like it's not even close. They close more transactions than anybody. And if you talk to ReSimply and FreedomSoft and REI Black Book, their numbers are the same. 50% of deals don't close. But the people like our clients that are doing over $500,000 a year, like they know to trust somebody. Your people that are doing 50, 60, 70 deals a month, I guarantee you not a one of them is closing their own transactions, And I'm sure if we compared client lists, we have a ton of overlap because, like I realized at one point, I'm like, I just can't do it all. Like, and trust me, for years and years and years, I wore the little badge of honor that said control freak, and nobody's as smart as me. Nobody's as good as me. Nobody works as hard as me. Nobody cares as much as me. All that nonsense that we believe as investors. And the reality is, we're all good at something. Everybody watching and listening to this, like we're all amazing at something, whether it's PPC or dispositions or whatever, right? But we're not good at everything,
Mhm.
right? And that delusion of thinking I can do it all is what will run your company into the ground or not allow you to even get out of the starting gate.
Yeah, I hear you. That makes a lot of sense. Why is it so? It seems like we're pretty quick to get rid of some things in the business.
Hmm.
Like there's a lot of people out there hiring acquisitions, hiring
Sure.
dispositions,
Yeah.
hiring operations, all that stuff.
Mhm.
Why is it that TC is so commonly not delegated, in your opinion?
Well, um, again, I just think people, and we give presentations. I did two presentations earlier today. So we talked with a lot of people and they think, well, I kind of muddled my way through the first deal. I'll just muddle through this one. And they don't understand. I do this presentation called, uh, yeah, don't lose your deals to Mayhem, right? Mayhem, the insurance guy, right? Well, you
All
don't
right.
realize that while you're on, picture driving down the road. It's 2 a.m. and it's a rainy night. You're on the side of the road messing around with Mayhem, right? You're changing tires, whatever it is, right? You're over here focused, and you don't realize that all these deals are flying by you because you're not paying attention because you're so focused on something over here. So part of it is they panic maybe, and maybe they had a TC. Like we've had people come and leave. They're like, oh, I'm just not closing enough deals right now, and I'm gonna just do it all myself. And that now just becomes this like waterfall. Just it just gets worse and worse and worse because now they're trying to do everything again, and they realize the way out of that was by delegating. Same reason people might turn off their PPC. They're like, oh, I had a bad couple weeks. I'm gonna stop my marketing. Don't ever stop your marketing. My God, that's the worst thing that you can ever do. Right? You have to always have leads coming in and, again, focus on the things that matter. Leads, talking to sellers,
Mm.
talking to buyers, and making sure you've got stuff under contract. And the rest of it will work out. It will work out because, again, I'm really good at this, but I cannot solve all of the title issues. and talk to all the sellers and talk to all the buyers and deal with the accountant and deal with the attorney. You cannot do it all. Not one successful person does it all. Not a one. I mean, it's not like there's one guy you could say he runs $1 million business and he's doing it all with AI or whatever. They don't exist. So if you're thinking that's going to be how you run your business, it's not going to work. It just doesn't work.
What would you say for you is so there's a certain group of things that are like, I don't know if cliche is the word. Like they're just like certain truths that exist
Mm-hmm.
that are always said.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody says them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like what you're saying right now, this is a great example. I guarantee you, nobody listening to this has ever not heard that. We've all heard it, right?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, I heard
But
it
we
too. And I
don't.
was too dumb to listen. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
We've all heard it, but we don't
Yeah.
all do it, right? And
Right.
there's this gap between like what we hear and what we do, and that's what makes a lot
Yeah.
of these like really cliche things where it's like,
Hmm.
well, of course
Yeah.
that's it. Like everybody hears that, everybody says that, and then someday you learn the lesson, like
Yeah.
somehow, some way, we all learn the lesson,
Hmm.
and then you look back and you think it used to be really dumb, and then now you're a lot smarter.
Yeah.
And eventually now you're that guy who's saying that cliche thing to someone else who's just not listening
I
because
tell
they're too
people,
stupid,
yeah, now I feel like the old guy on the rocking chair on the porch. Like I'm that guy. Get off my lawn, you whippersnapper. No, I like it 100%. Like I'm the old guy in the room now. And
Yeah.
if I didn't dye my beard, it would be as gray as that wall behind you. But yeah, I mean, yeah, yes, we've all heard it. But there's just something and I don't want to say it's our industry, but and we see it every place, right? In marketing, like I'm going to be the person that comes up with something different, and I'm going to beat the system, right? You know what works? I buy houses, we buy houses, right? Like that message has worked for 50 years. But somebody always wants to be like Penelope. I'm Penelope's kid, and I buy houses. Dude, they just always want to do some off the wall stuff. Why don't they listen? I don't know, man. I don't. I didn't listen. You know
Yeah.
when I listened? When I paid a CEO coach, Kent Clothier, $50,000 to be my coach, and he's like, "What are you doing? You're being stupid." And now when I had some skin in the game, now I started really listening to somebody. I don't have the answer for that because I've been that person too. Tom Kroll's told me not to do something. I did it anyways. And afterwards I'm like, yeah, man, you're right. That was dumb as the day is long. So maybe some of that's human nature and just some stubbornness. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it's true. I think everybody's heard that stuff.
Yeah, I think we just did today with my team, we did leadership training with
Mhm.
this guy from the Covey Institute, and
All
they talked
right.
about like the model of change that all change
Mm,
happens
interesting.
through. And their model that they teach is see see, do, get. It talks
Mhm.
about like I don't know if you've ever read The Seven Habits. It talks
Mm.
a lot about
Uh,
like
million years ago.
yeah, it talks about how like you see the problem is the problem. That's a
Mhm.
lot of like the intro, and then of course it gets into a lot more than that. But anyways, what I think is interesting based on that is that it talks about this idea of, well, if we like quote unquote learn something and then we don't
Mhm.
take action based on that thing, maybe we didn't actually learn something. Maybe it didn't actually change the way that we see the world.
Mhm.
And if it didn't change the way we see things, then it's different. I can tell you when I've been like particularly stubborn with a lot of these things, like the lesson that like I've heard words similar to the words that you said about like you can't do it all, you gotta trust other people, you've
Mhm.
gotta be able to focus on the places that matter
Yeah.
more. Like, okay, I nobody heard that more than I heard that. Nobody took less action on that than me either. Right?
Yeah.
It's not like I
I know.
never like heard the advice, so I didn't do it. But like what it really came down to, like when I look internally and I think because now I believe that because
Mhm.
I've like actually like I see things differently.
Yeah.
But it's that like I would hear the words, but I just don't believe it. It's like, yeah, I hear what
Yeah.
you're saying, David, but like I don't think you're right. Like
Yeah.
that's what it ultimately came
And I
down
don't
to.
know, and I agree, but this is also why every industry has such a high fail rate, right? When you look at what is it
Yep.
like small businesses that last over 5 years at some ridiculously low number. And even in our industry, in real estate, 80% fail rate. Like it's no the people that even get off the
Conservatively.
ground, huh?
Yeah.
It's significant. I don't know what the number is. I know Batch just
Yeah.
put out another survey that they did, but it's really high. And then the people that get some kind of sustainability, the difference between those people and the five
Mhm.
deal a month people is it's astronomical, right? Maybe maybe it's we're just also so stubborn and hard headed? I don't know. It's a great question though, but it's true.
Mhm.
Like it's a fact. We hang out in rooms with the same people that are radically successful. And yeah,
Mhm.
it's a hard lesson to learn, but that's why there's only
Yeah.
200 people in that room instead of 2,000.
Yeah. Fair enough. Uh, here's another question for you. I'm genuinely curious. So you
Yeah.
started running this business, which is just really different from the transactional real estate investment business.
Hmm.
Ironically, it's still transactional. It's just,
Yeah.
you're managing other people's transactions, but you moved ultimately from, a real estate investment company to a
Right.
service company.
Hmm.
Totally different, right? That's my world. I
Hmm.
I get that a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh, and I imagine in the process you learned quite a few things, and you've been very successful with this new business. I'm curious if you've learned anything that looking back, you think, well, now this one thing that I understand
Mm.
about business,
Yeah.
if I had just known that back when I was running
Mhm.
that real estate operation years ago, then I would have been way more successful. Anything come to mind?
Yeah, it's building a team. No matter what your business is, hiring is and building a team is a challenge. Steve Richards, we know him. He runs Team Architects. I used to get really upset, even in that transition time when I was running both businesses, and it was really hard. And the reason we didn't give up on one because I hated leaving wholesaling, but they were just two completely different things, trying to run two different types of businesses. But I would get so upset that I would hire people in and spend all this time and energy interviewing them and putting them through all the things and trying to make sure I was getting the right person. And then they would leave. And he would say, listen, the most successful companies in the country, the top, what is it, the Inc. 5000 or Inc. 500 that are run by literally MBAs from Harvard, Wharton, and Yale, the HR people there, the people stay an average of a year and a half to 2 years. And he's like, bro, people stay with you 8 months, 9 months. You're a small business. It's fine. So that was one of the things that was a struggle to learn as I've hired because not everybody's going to stick with you forever. But out of every 10, so out of 10, maybe 6 people won't stay. Like I've had people literally come in and not show up the next day. I don't know, if you've had that. I've had people come in for a week and then this happened not too long ago. This girl's husband calls us the next morning that she didn't show up and hey, she actually got extradited back to Illinois, which was really kind of wild. But sometimes, it's just not a good fit. But of the 4 people who stay, maybe like 2 or 3 of them will stay for a couple of years, but 1 or 2 are going to be the people that really believe in you and your company and the journey that you're on and making a difference for your clients. And those are the people that you're looking for. And those are the people that you can start to build like a core team around you. But to answer your question, I think team building is one of the things that I've learned the most about. And that as the business owner, you have to trust people, right? And I do remember very specifically this day, we were at our old office and I had my COO, she was our VP of operations at the time. And, we had started to build some team leads and all this stuff. And it was our Monday meeting. And I come out of my office and I'm doop de doop de doo. And I'm going in there, which they'd always get mad at me because I would talk too much. Shocking. And anyways, somebody says, hey, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going to the meeting. They're like, well, this meeting's not for you. I'm like, what do you mean? It's my company. They're like, oh no, this is just like us and the team leads. We don't need you for this meeting. I'm like, oh, I felt like Charlie Brown. Like my shoulders dropped, and I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? They're like, oh, go back to your office and do cat videos or whatever it is you do in there. Um, so initially that really hurt my feelings, but then I was really proud because we had built up this team that could operate on its own. And there is some distance between hustler mode and getting there, right? It's a lot of ups and downs to get there. But when you do finally get there, well, that's how I can go to Phoenix for 3 weeks and I can go to Tampa and Orlando. And like I can do all these things because we have built a team. And that takes time. So I guess I've learned that it takes time. You've got to find the right people, but you have to empower your people to make decisions and to kind of run it like this is their own part of the business, right? You obviously you want to reward them, you want to make them responsible, and you want to do all that type of stuff. But I think that holds true pretty much no matter what your business is, whether you run a retail store or an operation like ours where we're a very service-based industry.
Yeah. So tell me this, like back when let's do compare and contrast here, right?
Sure.
Your team now, obviously it's a different business,
Mhm.
but I would say the needs, like you're right that any business can succeed with a team, right? A team is an important piece
Sure.
of every single business. But I do think different businesses can make it different distances before the team becomes really, really important. One thing that I
Mhm.
think is like almost a handicap, but also like a crutch
Mhm.
for real estate investment is if you're just really good at hustling and doing deals, you
Mhm.
can actually make it pretty far in the business just
Sure.
doing that.
Yeah. And not everybody should scale. Like I don't,
Yeah,
I'm not that believer. Nobody should go to college because it's stupid. Like that's the dumbest shit ever that gets put out on social media. But also, not everybody should scale.
sure, sure. So because some people are really happy just like staying in that zone, but like I would
Yeah.
imagine a transaction coordination business
Mhm.
is one where your ceiling, if you were just hustling, would be a lot lower than your ceiling if you were just hustling, building a real estate investment team where you can make a lot more money per deal and stuff like that, right? Because
Mhm.
there's just a volume of work, right? So you move from a business that like needs a team to get to the next level after a certain stage to
Mhm.
one that like that level that it needs a team to get to is just significantly lower, right? It's kind of
Mhm.
like like if you were just gonna be out there like a freelance transaction coordinator, that'd be a
Yeah.
pretty limiting business, you know?
Yeah, that would
But
be and I well, maybe and I agree with what you're saying. I think all of it is like that would be a job, right? And we've had
yeah,
transaction coordinators who are great and they just left and they wanted to open their own deal and just they wanted to work for realtors, which we don't really work for them. And that's great. I
sure.
support them. I still talk to her all the time. Like, hey, you're doing great. I love it. I'm happy for you. You always want to, people are going to always leave your business, right? That's great. We always want to support that. So I get that. But even in wholesaling, like, maybe that's all you want. Maybe you just wanna do 2 deals a month. If I lost everything today, like, I'm in a 16,000 square foot office that we pay a lot of money for. I've got 25 people on the other side of that wall, and everybody's out here grinding, and we've built a really great business that almost runs on its own, and we're helping hundreds of clients every single month close their deals. But, like, if all of this went away tomorrow, I would go back to wholesaling. Maybe I would have a couple of virtual employees, an acquisitions person, a dispo person. I would find a TC if this didn't exist anymore, and then I would run a very very small, tight, lean operation for sure. And
Yeah. Well, and I
not everybody should scale. Like there's a lot of you have one. There's a
yeah.
lot of responsibility, payroll and people and stuff like all the things.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. I guess my curiosity is if you put i- if you went back, well, I guess you kind of answered it, right? So these new team building skills, if you went back to
Mhm.
real estate investment, would you do all of that in real estate investment, or you would seriously just you'd say it's
No.
not worth it there, but it is worth it in your current business?
Well, I just so let me give you this example. When I ran it was just me and my wife at the time, and we had some rentals and we were wholesaling a few deals a month, 2, 3, 5 on a big month, right? Because like that's all you can do literally with that small of a team. I could also shut it off and go to Europe for a month. Right.
Mhm.
I mean, I had somebody come by the office through the mail slot and pick up the checks that were dropped for the rent and go make sure they were deposited. And I was out. Like, I would turn my marketing on about 5 days before I came back home so that when I got home, boom, I had leads running. And that was great. I could do that. I did it a bunch of times. I went to Europe for a month a couple times. I went to China, cruised around. I've been all over. But when you have a team, that's a little harder to do, right? Until you've got them really in place and leadership, because now
Mhm.
we're responsible. I have people out there, right? They have to pay their rent and pay their mortgage and put shoes on their kids and buy dog cookies, right? Like whatever. So now I get the benefit of having a scaled up team where maybe I'm not the person sitting there shuffling the papers and I'm still getting paid, but I have to make sure the business runs, right? That I'm in charge of marketing and we're pulling in new clients and we're always growing and we're replacing people. You know what I mean? We're doing the business part. So
Mhm.
I'm also going to be 55. Like I probably wouldn't build that again from scratch. I would just go back and I would wholesale 2 or 3 deals a month and make 40 or 60 grand and just run a much different type of life, right? Because maybe I'm through
Sure.
that kind of. Maybe I sell this company, I go buy laundromats. I don't know. But yeah, I don't think it's a ton of work to build something up this big. Like it's that it's a ton of work and sacrifice as an owner, and because everybody else in this business has to be before me, right? As the owner, every single person, I have to make sure every person gets paid, and we're a very labor intensive business. This is not an AI driven business. We are constantly on the phone with people solving problems, and these are not $3 an hour VAs. These are very expensive, very trained, talented people. And overhead, like there's just a ton of overhead. running this type of business. So would I do it again? No. Am I glad we have it? Absolutely. So proud of them and everything that they do. And, I get to be on great podcasts like this because they do a great job and make me look really good. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't build it. And I tell people all the time, I don't recommend that everybody go scale. It's not for everybody. It's hard. It's a lot of work. You have to really want it.
Well, yeah, that's so interesting to me that you did scale, and
Hmm.
if you were back in,
Yeah.
because what the answer I expected is, well, if I had the skills I have now, I would have built it bigger. I would have built it better
I
back
mean, we would
then.
have built it faster for sure. And back when I was coming up, starting in 2009, like you had to have a bigger team than you do now, right? Like things have changed. You had to have a bookkeeper in house, and you had to have a transaction coordinator, and you had to have a property. I had a property manager that was in there that was dealing with all of my properties, but the world has changed, right? Like the functions of what we do are still the same, right? We still have to talk to people. We have to do some kind of marketing, but I don't have to learn PBC. I used to handwrite yellow letters at night. Like I can hire you to run my marketing, or somebody else said if I want to do direct mail. So like that's now a thing that I don't have to do. I can write a check for that, or give my credit
Hmm.
card. I don't have to have a transaction coordinator. I can hire Easy REI closings. I don't need to have a bookkeeper. I can hire the best bookkeeper in the country that specifically deals with real estate agent or real estate investors and make sure that that is handled. So part of that is the industry has changed, right? We have so much more resources at our disposal. Now I don't have to pay for the people who are wholesaling and running bigger teams. I used to pay two people $40,000 to $45,000 a year that just called old leads and were setting appointments. AI can do, not perfect, but it can do it, and it never misses. It never misses. Doesn't call in sick, and I can do that for $1,000 a month, right? So there are things where we can
Hmm.
really augment all of our processes and our SOPs and things, where I don't have to have that kind of a big team, where I can do some volume, but really do it much more efficiently. But yeah, of course, like everything that I know now, yeah, if I was to go back into wholesaling, I would wipe everybody out in Chattanooga because we understand it, right? And that's the great thing about knowledge, right? Nobody can ever take that out of your brain. Like you have it, you can lose everything. You and I can lose everything, and you could go run PBC for yourself, and you'd absolutely crush it, even if it all went away today, right? Because nobody can pull that out of your brain.
Sure. Well, thank you for sharing so much of your wisdom. Dare I say, 55-year-old man wisdom
Old guy
on
on the
this
rocking
episode.
chair
Yeah.
wisdom, right?
Yes, that's right.
That's
Um,
that's the thumbnail, right? Me with like gray hair, and you, younger, old, good-looking guy, and I'm over there in the rocking chair with a little knife and whittling on my stick, right?
hey, I'm not as young as I used to be. I used to be like the young guy in all the circles. It's not true anymore.
I know.
Um, Well, David, thank you for taking the time
Yeah,
today. For anybody listening to this, if you spoke to their soul about needing some help with transaction coordination, like I say, I've
yeah.
heard nothing but incredible things about
Thank you.
easy RI closings
Appreciate that.
for like taking care of the transactions, which is uh yeah, like you said, compared to like hiring an in-house transaction coordinator, honestly, for
Yeah,
most people, it just makes more sense unless you're
sure.
doing insane volume or something. So,
Right.
anyways, if anybody's interested in that, how do they get a hold of you?
Very easy, right? Our website is easy, the letter E, the letter Z, reiclosings.com. Super simple. Jump over there. There's a little link. You can book a call with me or somebody on my team. And yeah, we're definitely open to having a conversation and seeing if we're a good fit. If we are, great. We'd love to help you. But yeah, this is the thing that we do every single day. This is what we get up and come in here. I tell people I've got people that get here at 8:15, 8:30 in the morning, and sometimes they're here till 8 o'clock at night because the only thing that we do is close deals. That's it.
Cool. Well, thank you,
Right.
David, for sharing that. I encourage anybody to go
Appreciate it.
check that out. And I will see you, for everybody else listening, I will see you next week.
All right. Thank you.
Cool.
There you go. Is it still
Yeah.
recording? Does it look like?
Nope.
No.
It's done. It's still